Klonoa. Now that's a name that might mean something to you if you're a fan of Namco's attempt to create a new mascot back in 1997. This cute cat-like critter got his start on the original PlayStation with Klonoa Door to Phantomile, and has made several appearances on and off throughout the years. There's a plethora of spin-off games focusing on the little guy that even include a beach volleyball title, as well as a direct sequel to the original PS1 game on the PS2 called Klonoa 2 Lunatea's Veil. We even got a recent re-release of these two mainline games on just about every console and PC only a year ago. And while it's clear Namco holds a lot of love for this little fella, he's never taken off in the same way that other mascot characters from the 5th generation of gaming consoles did. I personally have fond memories of playing Lunatea's Veil as my first Klonoa game. I didn't own it, but I rented it from a local video store, and unfortunately never beat it. After that, I played through Empire of Dreams, one of the Game Boy Advance spin-offs. And I started, but never finished its sequel, Dream Champ Tournament. And in each of those cases, these instances were between 15 and 20 years ago. All of this is to say that I have never played any incarnation of Klonoa Door to Phantomile before doing so for this review, and that I haven't given a Klonoa game a real look in way too long. Do I join into the cult that's been following this classic series for years, or will it be clear to me why this franchise has never broken into the mainstream? Let's find out. But before we get too far into this retrospective, do note that I am about to cover the story of Klonoa Door to Phantomile. If you're new to the series and want to avoid spoilers, you are more than welcome to skip to the time shown on screen. I promise you won't offend me if you do. Our story begins with the inner thoughts of our main character. Klonoa has been having some strange dreams lately. They start out simple enough with him meeting Hupo, his air spirit friend that resides in a ring. However, things quickly turn dark as an object comes crashing down from the sky onto a nearby hill. With it comes turbulent winds that usher in a sea of shadowed clouds. Before the dream can finish, Klonoa awakens with a start. In an instance of deja vu, an object has come hurtling down from the sky and slammed into the top of the nearby Bell Hill. Not content to do nothing, Klonoa leaves home with Hupo as they investigate the commotion. Once the two make their way to Bell Hill, they enter a tower under construction by Baloo the Mason. He seeks to build a structure high enough to reach the Moon Kingdom. It's there where Lefise resides. She's a diva that is able to regenerate the world with her magical song of rebirth. After apologizing to Baloo for entering the building unannounced, the two continue to the top of Bell Hill. Once they are at the top, they come across a startling scene. Lefise is unconscious, and surrounding her are two menacing creatures: Gadius, a being seeking to cover the world in darkness, and his servant Joka. They have captured Lefise to stop her song of rebirth and also seek a pendant that should be in her possession. Upon seeing Klonoa and Hupo, Gadius takes Lefise and flies back to the sky, leaving Joka to handle what he simply sees as a couple of little mice. Joka summons the help of another servant of Gadius, but is still unable to defeat Klonoa and Hupo. He falls from Bell Hill, causing the titular instrument at its peak to ring, which reveals that the pendant the two villains were seeking was inside of it. Our heroes take this back to Klonoa's grandfather seeking answers about it. He tells them that it's a crest of the Moon Kingdom and that Granny from the nearby Fourlock Forest will know more about it. Klonoa and Hupo leave the pendant in Grandpa's care and set out to see Granny. Along the way, they also stop to help out the Jugpot Kingdom as the nation's water has started flowing in reverse. This sees them save a young fish named Carol, who agrees to help them if they'll save her mother. It turns out Gadius has corrupted Jugpot King Seedoff and has also casted a spell on Carol's mother, Pamela. Klonoa and Hupo defeat the two, breaking the spell on them, and they also smack around Joka again for good measure. Free from Gadius' control, Seedoff returns the flow of water to normal, allowing our furry friend to resume his journey to meet Granny. After making their way through Fourlock Forest, Klonoa and his companion find Joka interrogating Granny. Before they can beat him up again, he flees and sends out another monster to attack them. Following its defeat, they tell Granny about the Moon Pendant, and she says it's part of an old legend. One connected to the Moon Kingdom, an ancient darkness awakening, and the dream that creates this world. She tells the two that the Moon Pendant can be used to reach the Moon Kingdom by placing it in the altar at the Temple of the Sun. Granny then asks them where the pendant is, with Klonoa responding that Grandpa has it. Joka then reveals himself, saying that he'll head home to steal the Moon Pendant from Grandpa. Klonoa and Hupo rush home, and as they're closing in, they see Grandpa from across the ravine. Our heroes have made it back to him in time to stop Joka from stealing the moon pendant. Or so they think. It's at this time that Joka flies in on a strange aircraft and uses it to destroy Klonoa's house. He takes off with the moon pendant, and in a surprising twist that really caught me off guard, Grandpa dies in Klonoa's arms. And while these characters may speak in a made-up language for the game, Klonoa crying out after his grandfather's death really comes through in the voice acting. Like, it hit me. It hit me hard. Unfortunately, there's no time for our hero to grieve, as he needs to get the moon pendant back. Luckily, Pamela shows up to aid the two, carrying them to the Temple of the Sun that floats high above Phantomile. Once in the temple, Klonoa meets the two priests of the Temple of the Sun. He aids them in recovering artifacts stolen by Ghadius's followers, which opens the altar, allowing him to confront Ghadius. The Dark Spirit tells Klonoa and Hupo that his ploy is one of revenge on the Dreamers that sealed him away. He plans to bring nightmares back to the land, and will use the Diva Lafis to achieve his goal. Before leaving, he tells our heroes that the Moon Kingdom will bear this weight. While Klonoa tries to chase after Ghadius, he's stopped once more by Joka. After being admonished by his leader, the Jester is finally wielding his dark powers to stop Klonoa himself. After being taken down once more by the duo, Joka tells them that this world will become one of nothingness. His death triggers the Temple of the Sun, which sends out beams of light to 3 landmarks of Phantomile and collects energy from them. With this power combined, the Moon Kingdom burst forth from the ground, and with it comes a wave of darkness that washes over the land, as Klonoa can only look on with sheer anger in his heart. Luckily for him, Pamela returns once more to escort them to the Flying Moon Kingdom. After progressing through the lower levels of the kingdom, Klonoa and Hupo are met by one of its guards. It's here we learn that Ghadius has taken over the Moon Kingdom and trapped Lafis in an egg. He's funneling the darkness of nightmares into it, and if it were to open, it would spell disaster for Phantomile. This is all told to us by the Queen of the Moon Kingdom, who Hupo confirms is actually his mother. It turns out our little friend is the Prince of the Moon Kingdom. He went to Phantomile for a special reason, one he can't yet tell Klonoa about. But he promises to when the time is right. Being the friend that he is, Klonoa accepts all of this and never doubts Hupo. With renewed determination, the two set off to stop Ghadius. And they find him waiting at the top of the Moon Kingdom, preparing the Nightmare Crystal Nahatun. The only problem is that there remains a single dream in the world that cannot be corrupted by nightmares. The dream that is Klonoa. Klonoa is the opposite of Ghadius, a dream of hope that stands in the way of the Dark Wizard's plans to erase the entire world with the darkness of Nahatun. Ghadius seeks this, even knowing that his existence would be erased as well. He'd rather do this and throw away the world than have it abandon him again. To ensure the creation of Nahatun, Ghadius attempts to eliminate Klonoa, but is defeated instead. Even so, Nahatun is born from the Egg of Nightmares, having corrupted and taken over the body of Lafis. It seeks to destroy Klonoa, as he is the last dream standing in the way of Phantomile's destruction. With the help of the various friends that Klonoa made throughout his journey, he and Hupo are successful at weakening Nahatun enough to make him vulnerable to one last attack. With no other option available, Hupo offers himself up as the final wind bullet that Klonoa fires at the creature. Doing so causes the dark entity to burst, releasing Lafis from inside of it. She thanks Klonoa for ridding the world of nightmares. While happy about Ghadius's plans failing, Klonoa still begins to mourn the loss of his friend. That is, until a blue light glows behind him. Hupo has survived the attack on Nahatun, but was majorly injured in the process. Fast forward some time and we see our two heroes sitting on the top of a wall looking over Phantomile. They discuss Hupo's injuries as well as if he plans to return to the Moon Kingdom. Even knowing his friend has to return, Klonoa is optimistic that the two will still see each other and continue to play together. Hupo doesn't share Klonoa's excitement and explains that this world is not his friend's home. Instead, the Moon Prince pulled him into this reality, crafting fake memories of their friendship. He tells him that when Lafis sings her song of rebirth, Klonoa will no longer be able to stay in this world. Klonoa refuses to accept what Hupo is telling him, saying that he will remain in this Phantomile. At this time, Lafis begins to sing her song, and a vortex opens, attempting to pull Klonoa back to his realm. Klonoa fights, and with tears in his eyes, Hupo attempts to help him, but neither can stop the Song of Rejuvenation as Klonoa is whisked away. Our story concludes with the world of Phantomile restored to its former glory and a book of Klonoa's journey in the realm closing, signifying the end of our adventure. If you are a longtime viewer, then you probably have heard me mention in past reviews that I am a fan of optimistic stories that are genuine and heartfelt. And let me just say that Klonoa, Door to Phantomile is all of that and more. Everything about its story, visuals, and audio cement this with their uplifting presentations. All of this is to say that there is something truly inspiring and uplifting about playing this game and accepting the message that it presents to players. And it helps that all of this is combined with some stellar gameplay. Klonoa's controls are simple to get the hang of. We have basic movement with the D-pad, the ability to jump with the X button, and we can fire wind bullets with square. Adding to this, if the player holds X after jumping, Klonoa can get a short flutter with his ears. Those are ears, right? This can give him the small boost that he needs to get to different places. Then there's the wind bullet and the uses that it has in the game. An enemy that is hit with a wind bullet is inflated and carried by Klonoa. Once he's got an inflated enemy in his possession, there are a few ways it can help our heroes progress through the world of Phantomile. First off, inflated enemies can be thrown as attacks. That includes forwards, backwards, as well as into the foreground and background. That's due to the unique nature of Klonoa being a 2.5D platformer. While the characters are 2D and the game takes place on a 2D plane, the world itself is 3D and there are different ways to interact with it as a result. Some of the easy ones I could mention are hitting switches in the background, riding through minecarts, or traveling along paths that circle and wind around set pieces in the background while never leaving the 2D plane. The second major use of inflated enemies is as an additional jump. Pressing X while already in the air will see Klonoa throw the enemy below him, which essentially acts as a double jump. He can also do his flutter jump after this. There will even be sections in the game that will challenge the player with making a series of jumps over pits with these type of wind bullet interactions. Heck, if you really want to go the extra mile, there's a bonus level that really runs players through a series of difficult platforming challenges to test their skills. It's unlocked by collecting all of the lost residents of Phantomile. There are 6 of them in each vision outside of the final one. With 12 visions in total, that means players have to save 72 villagers to get this extra level. It's a small goofy side story that I'm not going to go into detail about, but the platforming needed to get through here is tight. It also includes a timer for players that want to see how fast they can beat it. I'll also note that conquering this level unlocks the jukebox. While getting a music player isn't really the biggest of deals, it is a neat little reward that lets you experience all of the wonderful music this game has to offer whenever you want. Plus, it feels like something the average player can accomplish without too much trouble. And I know this will never happen, but how cool would it be if game makers started adding jukebox and music test back into their games nowadays, except with the added benefit of unlocking the OST for download? I already buy a lot of the OSTs for games I enjoy, but getting them as a reward outside of the game would be really awesome. It's the kind of thing that could actually incentivize me to keep playing games even after the credits roll. I know that's not super relevant to the review, but it was just something that I kinda thought of and it sounded like a fun idea. I'll get back on track now. If the footage you've been seeing so far hasn't already made it clear, Klonoa Door to Phantomile has some fun visuals. It looks a little too messy on modern displays because of stylistic choices, but that's not something I'm overly bothered by. Though I will say that playing the game on a CRT, or even via other means with some simple scanline options, goes a long way toward cleaning up its jagged edges and rough appearance. Also, Klonoa's got a great design that reeks of lovable mascot, and most of the rest of the cast are great compliments to him. And now I think I've basically covered everything I need to when talking about this game. So what are my final thoughts? Klonoa Door to Phantomile is not a game. It's a magical journey compressed onto a CD for the player's enjoyment. Or in this case, a hard drive, since I'm playing the PS1 Classic version of the game through my PS3. It's filled to the brim with charm, and I feel there's nothing negative to say about it. Maybe it won't impress everyone, but I definitely consider myself part of the crowd that this game appeals to. If you want to play a game filled with optimism, hope, and the power of dreams, it's right here waiting for you. Now you just have to decide how to play it. Picking up the digital version through the PS3 is probably the best option available. Otherwise, you'll be stuck trying to find a hard copy of a game that can go for $300+ complete and nearly $200 loose. The other option is to play one of the remakes of the original Klonoa. The first of these was released on the Wii and goes for much less than its PS1 counterpart. But the cheapest and easiest way will be picking up the Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series re-release that came out in 2022. It's available on the Nintendo Switch, the PS4, the PS5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X/S. This compilation also includes Lunatea's Veil, the second game in the series, making it the best bang for your buck and easiest way to acquire copies of these games. Oh, and if you're in the US like me, know that you can get the game physical via the European release. I actually just picked it up a few days ago, and it was a little too late to really do anything with it in this review, but it does give me a way to play Lunatea's Veil without tracking down a hard copy of the PS2 version. To be clear, I have no experience with the remakes of the first Klonoa, but from what I've seen, they appear to be amazingly faithful to the original game. No matter how you choose to go about it, I highly advise checking out Klonoa. It's the kind of game that just puts a smile on your face with its simple but cheerful world, game design, characters, music, and gameplay. And that's something that I'm sure everyone could use a little more of. Thanks for sticking around for my review of Klonoa Door to Phantomile, and until next time, take it easy.